Dot Corruption, a LitRPG by J.M. Foley, a.k.a. Artie. Chapter 10, The Final Cut. What the hell? The words tore out of me as I stared at the party UI. That was long enough. The chain's shadow swept across my vision, too late to duck. Whump! Pain detonated across my ribs as the rusted hook caught me square in the side, the force ripping me off my feet. I hit the wall hard enough to feel stone give under my shoulder, breath blasting out in a cough that tasted like iron. My health bar nosedived, 75% gone from the single hit, another 10% vanishing when I slammed into the wall. HP, 12%. Fuck, it hurts. Shit, get him up, our villain's voice cracked over the clash of the fight. His mannequin barreled in, mallet raised, trying to wedge itself between me and Stitch's next step. Already on it, Lilia called from across the chamber, her staff flaring bright. A lance of light shot from its tip, slamming into me like a second heartbeat. Warmth surged across my chest in a sharp, jarring burst. Nature's Embrace, HP plus 21%. Why is that less than before? Alright, my max HP jumped when I dumped points into Vitality. Must be a flat value heal. No time to dwell on it. The red drained from my health bar as it climbed. Another wave of warmth rolled over me as Lilia followed with a heal over time. Touch of Nature, HP plus 2% per second for 10 seconds. So her heal over time's still percentage-based. Good to know. I made a mental note to ask her about it later. I started to get up, one knee, then a foot. Just in time to see Stitches smash our villain's mannequin into splinters. There's no way we can take this thing without Bran, I rasped. We need the rogue to fight. I flicked a glance toward the far wall where our rescued NPC, Jarek, was still half curled on the ground, eyes wide like a cornered animal. My heels are on cooldown. Lilia's voice was sharp, already moving. I'll try to get Jarek in while I wait for them to come back up. She didn't wait for a response, just bolted toward him, staff still in one hand, the other waving frantically for him to move. I can't take another hit from this thing until I have more health. All right, eyes up, no mistakes, I muttered under my breath. Stitch's gaze found me, and it started a slow, deliberate walk forward. The kind of pace that said it knew it didn't need to hurry. The remains of our villain's mannequin lay in splintered heaps at its feet. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw our villain beginning a cast, probably to summon a new mannequin. I locked back on Stitches. Just me and you, ugly fuck. It answered with a wet, rattling growl, spinning its chain in a tightening circle before hurling it at me in a wide arc. I ducked low, boots sliding on gore-slicked stone, and came up in a rising slash. The blade bit deep, staggering it, giving me just enough time to try out my new ability. Grave Slash. My sword grew heavier in my grip, its edge bleeding a grayish-purple light. I reared back and swung with everything I had, aiming for the joint in its knee. Crack. Critical strike. Stitch's leg buckled, dumping the abomination onto its back with a crash that rattled my teeth. An opening. I bolted up its massive arm, boots thudding on mismatched flesh, and started swinging. Each strike tore through crude stitching, spilling black ichor and half-rotted meat across the stone. It rumbled, seemed straining, and began to rise. My footing went out from under me, sending me sidelong down its side. But I caught myself in a kneel, blade still ready. A quick glance at its health bar told me everything. It had about 30% HP remaining. Holy shit, maybe this was winnable. At least that's what I thought, right up until Stitch's whole body convulsed and it let out a blood-curdling scream. It jammed its too small hand into the ragged tear I'd left in its stomach. The seams split wider with a wet rip as its fingers disappeared wrist-deep into its own guts. When they came back out, they were gripping a slab of rust-pitted steel, serrated like a saw blade and still slick with the filth it had been nesting in. It made a sound that was half laugh, half death rattle, then pushed itself upright, ichor dripping from its knees. Its mismatched eyes locked onto me again, the cleaver twitching in its grip, before it started forward. slow at first, then breaking into a lurching sprint. "Phase 2!" Arvellin shouted, finishing the cast to summon a new mannequin. Stitches closed the gap in a heartbeat, swinging the cleaver in its too small hand, then chaining immediately into the wide hook swing it had been using before. I ducked under the cleaver, but the follow-up caught me off guard. I managed to get my sword up in time to block, but the impact jolted through my arms and still sent me staggering backward, my HP dipping by about 10%. Shit. I forced myself upright and tried to create distance, but as soon as I got far enough away, Stitch's gaze snapped toward Arvellin. The hook whipped forward toward him in a blur. This time Arvellin was ready, diving left just as the hook smashed into the wall where he'd been standing. Stone splintered, dust clouding the air. I charged in, blade low, boots pounding across the gore-slicked floor. My sword bit deep into the back of Stitch's knee. "Don't ignore me, you fuck!" I snarled as the cut tore a long, ragged gash, spraying me with even more warm gore. Stitches whipped around toward me instantly, cleaver arcing down in a brutal vertical slash. I caught the movement and pivoted hard, the blade missing by inches and slamming into the stone with a bone-jarring clang. "Now the chain," I muttered, already moving. The rusted hook whistled past where my head had been a second earlier as I ducked under it. Before Stitches could recover, Arvellin's mannequin barreled in from the side and smashed its oversized mallet into the back of the abomination's leg. The blow made it stumble, but only for a second. Stitches spun, cleaver flashing, and split the construct clean in half at the waist. The mannequin toppled in two sparking pieces, its mallet clattering to the floor. Damn it, back to solo tanking. I backpedaled slowly, keeping just inside aggro range. My sword stayed up, the weight of it dragging at my arms. Each step stole more space until the arena itself was closing in on me. I couldn't take my eyes off that jagged cleaver, swaying in rhythm with its gait. My heel struck stone, solid, cold, and unyielding. A wall. Fuck. My health was scraping the bottom, stamina running on fumes. Its HP, about 20% left. How the hell were we going to finish this? The space between us was closing. Stitch's mismatched eyes locked on me. The chain in one hand dragging across the stone, the cleave in the other, rising higher with every ponderous step. I pressed into the wall, searching for any opening. There wasn't one. The cleaver armed reached its peak, seams creaking wetly as they stretched, and then a blur vaulted onto its back. Jarek. The rogue hit like a thrown dagger, boots finding purchase between disparate shoulders as both his blades flashed in the dark. He didn't hesitate. Steel punched into the thick cords of muscle and sinew along Stitch's neck. Once, twice, then over and over in a brutal rhythm. The abomination bellowed, the sound cutting ragged as black ichor sprayed. It thrashed, chain clattering against the floor, but Jarek clung on like a blur, riding every violent jerk of its frame. "I want to live!" he roared, twisting one blade free only to drive it into the base of its skull. Each strike was precise. He wasn't just hacking wildly. Every stab aimed for a seam, a weak joint, a place where flesh pulled taut over bone. From across the chamber, Lilia's staff flared, a surge of healing magic washing over me. My HP ticked upward, dragging me back out of the red for the first time in minutes. She met my eyes, gave a sharp nod, then turned her focus on Stitches. The abomination twisted and clawed for Jarek, but its discrepant arms couldn't reach the rogue clinging to the back of its neck. That was my opening. Grave Slash, round 2. I planted my boots, both hands tightening on the hilt as my sword grew heavier, that grayish-purple glow flooding down the blade. One step forward. Swing. The edge bit deep, cutting through meat and sinew before severing the joint entirely. The left leg came free at the knee in a spray of viscous ichor and blood, splattering the stone and pooling beneath us. Stitches roared, the sound breaking into a gurgle as its frame buckled. It toppled backward. Jarek kicked free, landing in a crouch, blades up and ready to go again. It had about 5% HP left. We could end this. One more clean exchange and it was over. But Stitches didn't go down quiet. It staggered upright on its one good leg, dragging the chain behind it like dead weight. The cleaver lifted high. Its posture screamed normal attack, and for a heartbeat, I braced for the swing. Then its aim shifted. Past me, past Jarek, toward Lilia. Why was he looking at her? She was well out of reach for its cleaver attack. Stitch's seams bulged as its grip tightened, and my stomach dropped. He's going to throw it. I didn't think, just moved. The weapon left its hand with a violent, wet snap, spinning end over end in a shrieking arc straight toward her. She froze, mid-cast, eyes wide at the blur of steel. My boots pounded stone, every muscle screaming as I closed the gap and slammed into her side, shoving her clear. The cleaver caught me full in the ribs. The world lurched. Pain bloomed in a jagged, impossible line from my side to my spine as the impact hurled me backwards. I hit the ground hard enough to hear something in my chest crack. Minus 42% HP. Minus 18% HP. My health bar bottomed out in 2 blinks. Lilia was over me instantly, her staff discarded, hands on my face. I could see her mouth moving, shouting something, but the sound was muffled, like she was underwater. Her eyes shone wet. She was trying to heal. I could feel the warmth flooding in, but it was already far too gone. The last thing I saw was Stitches crashing to the ground behind her, Jarek's blades buried in its skull, before black closed over everything. Thank you for listening. If you want to read ahead, you can find the link to my book on Royal Road in the video description. If you're enjoying the story, please feel free to leave a comment and tell me your thoughts. If you like my way of storytelling, please subscribe to my channel. I'll be writing and uploading more chapters and stories soon. Thank you so much for listening.